I'm Justin Victor de la Cruz, and in this video series, we will teach you how to sell your property. So a bit of background about myself. I'm a licensed real estate broker. I'm also a licensed real estate appraiser and a licensed environmental planner, or also known as an urban planner. Now, for all of these three licenses that I have just mentioned, I took my licensure exams for them and was among the top nationally for these. And even after having taken those licenses, I have built more than $1 billion worth of sales transactions on both the buy side and on the sell side. Additionally, I'm also a licensed commercial drone pilot, so I take photos and videos of properties. I'm also at the same time an instructor for real estate and urban planning, and I usually teach at the Urban Institute, held at the Asian Institute of Management, and also at I Academy. There's my educational background. I had my university education here in the Philippines, in the United States, and also in China. And furthermore, I like to think that I'm also fluent in business Mandarin, and that affords me access to a lucrative Chinese-speaking market. Now, there are several steps to selling the property, depending on who you ask and depending on how detailed you want to be. There can be as much as 50 steps to selling your property. But in this series of videos, we will just go through the basics ones. And here I'll have listed for you steps 1 to 7. Step number 1 is to prepare the legal documents. Step number 2 is to set the price that is something that is acceptable to you, but also acceptable to a buyer. Number 3 is to stage the property, how to arrange your furniture, and also how to take proper pictures of your property. Number 4 is to market the property, how to get the selling information of your piece of property out there so that everybody would know that you're actually selling it. And number 5 is also how to show your properties. What are some of the practices that you could take within these times of the requirement for social distancing? And number 6 is to negotiate and evaluate offers and accept your property. And lastly, 7 is to close, register, and transfer the property. Okay. Now, first step that you want to do in terms of selling your property is to prepare the documents. And we're talking about legal documents. Now, for you, we've prepared a list of the documents, the basic documents that you need to have prepared before you can actually execute a sale. Now, depending on the type of property, your circumstances, the legal documents that you need to have prepared may be different. But for a lot of the properties, these items here would be the basic list of the legal documents that you would need to have prepared already. And first of all, of course, is the owner's duplicate of title. And this is really the legal proof that you are the owner of this piece of property. Because in that title, that would have included your actual legal name and also the identifying characteristics of the property, whether it is a condominium, on what city it is located, and other relevant factors in terms of the ownership. Now, there are different types of title. There's the OCT, or also called the original certificate of title. There's the TCT, which is a transfer certificate of title. And there's also the CCT, which is the condominium certificate of title. The second item that you would have that you should have is a certificate true copy of title. Also, rather, certified true copy of title. Now, this is something that you can actually provide to a broker. You can provide to a property potential buyer. And the certified true copy of title, you can get that from the register of deeds. Basically, that certified true copy of title, that would be the updated title that you would have, updated because what you would have there are all of the other records that the government would include, such as if it is going to under any kind of a legal process, or if there is a lien or a kind of a claim made by third parties on the property, they would also be included in the certified true copy of title. So it's easy to get that. Just go to the register of deeds of your local government, and you should be able to obtain that. That is the kind of title that you can provide to those that are inquiring. Take note, you do not give your owner's duplicate of title to those who are inquiring, but you can provide a certified true copy of title to those who are inquiring. Next up is the tax declaration, and this would provide the information in terms of what type of property it is. Is it commercial property? Is it a residential property? And other such relevant factors needed for real property taxation, such as market value as estimated by the local government. The next is the real estate tax clearance, and you get that from also the local government, particularly the treasurer. And from real estate tax clearance is basically a document that certifies you've actually paid the real property taxes on the property, and that you do not have any other realty property taxes that are still due. And then lastly, you also need, of course, government IDs, and these should be government IDs that are updated, preferably those that would have your picture, that would have your address. And you need these government IDs because these are documents that you need to provide also when you're executing the deed documents, the contract to sell, the deed of absolute sale, and other similar documents. Now, once you have prepared all of these legal documents, now it's time to set the price for your property. And again, this should be a price that is both acceptable to you, but also something that is enticing enough for the market. Something that is not too expensive, but something that they can actually consider as a buying option. Okay? Um, Before you set the price, of course, do understand that there are some expenses when it comes to selling your property, and the expenses are various, and it really depends on a case to case basis. But from a general sense, everybody would pay these following taxes. Almost everybody actually. First is the capital gains tax, which is rated at 6% of the amount at which the property is actually sold. Now, this capital gains tax only applies if the property is classified as a capital asset, meaning that this real estate property is not actually being used for business, or that it is not part of an inventory of let's say let's say a developer. Otherwise, if it is actually not a capital asset, maybe it's being used for business, then it could be taxed instead by creditable withholding tax, or also VAT. The next expense is a brokerage professional fee. Now, the industry standard for brokerage is at 5%, and that I will explain to you further on in this video series. Now, the buyer's expenses, these typically are not something that you would pay for when you're selling your property. But it would be good to note that these are also taxes and expenses that are being considered by when someone buys your property. First is the documentary stamp tax, which is calculated as 15 pesos for every 1,000 pesos the selling price. Now, to make this simple, some would just say it as 1.5% of the selling price. Next, the transfer tax. It really depends on your local government. If it is a municipality or a full-fledged city, then it's calculated as 0.5% to 0.75% of the selling price, depending on the local government. And finally, also you have the registration fee, so that the buyer can actually register the property as one being his own. It is calculated as 0.25% of the selling price. Now that those are the taxes and the expenses that you will need to take into account of. No? I'm now speaking from my appraiser's hat. Now bringing to you some lessons, some fundamentals from the appraisal point of view. What is normally done is a comparative market analysis, or also shortened as CMA. Basically, with the comparative market analysis, we have an evaluation of similar properties to arrive at a suggested selling or asking price for your property. So let's say you are selling a house and lot within a certain area, let's say in Quezon City. What you do is you also take an inventory, take stock of other houses that are also for sale within that same area within Quezon City, and you look at how are they how are they pricing their properties, and then you evaluate those prices, and you take an average of that, and that would give you an indication of how much more or less you should also price your property. So in this video, I will show you how to go about that in a simple way. Okay? The first thing that you do is actually search for comparable listings, or also called comps. In this particular case, what we're going to do is we will try to price a condominium unit that is a studio condominium unit that is located at SM Sun Residences. Now, this is beside Welcome Rotonda in Quezon City. So what I did here to get search comparable listings or comps is I go to a, let's say, a popular listing website, let's say Lamudi or Dot Property, and I search for similar properties which are of the same or similar profile as that studio condo that I'm trying to sell. It would even be better actually if I get also similar prices or similar units of condos within that same building within SM Sun Residences. So what you have here in the screen now that you're seeing are 4 units. Basically, it's good to have between 3 to 5 units, 3 to 5 comparables to provide the best results. But I have for you 4 in here. So you have at the very top is 2.5 million, which is 20 square meters. 3 million at 26.3 square meters, 3.1 at 26 square meters, and another one for 3 million at 20 square meters. Okay. And as you can see, all of them at the right side, they're all 1 bedroom and also 1 bathroom. Okay. Now, provided for you actually will also be a comps calculator. Now, this is provided for you after you go through the series or you go through you take our survey, and then that will lead you to a directory, a Google Drive, wherein you can download this comps calculator. So just quickly, this is what a comps calculator will show you. This Excel sheet will help you give an indication of how much you should actually sell your property. Now, just as a caveat, this comps calculator is really suited for condominiums. If for houses and lots, it's quite a slightly different calculation, but the principle is similar. You're basically looking at the prices of comparables and evaluating those prices. Okay, so now let's go through some of these segments from the comps calculator. Okay, at the very top of that comps calculator, you would have these assumptions for price adjustments. So you have 4 items there for the parking slot. Let's say every parking slot there is 1 million pesos. For bare, semi-furnished, and furnished, basically we're looking at how much is the premium if you actually dress up your property. So of course, if it's bare, then the price that you can add over the normal price is just 0%. If it's semi-furnished, then it's probably 5%. If it's furnished, then it's probably 10%. Now, it's really up to you how much to add, how much premium to add, 0%, 5%, 10%. Appraisal is actually an art and a science, and even if you ask several appraisers, they would come up to different figures. But I find, at least for my experience, that you can peg it at 0% for bare, 5% for semi-furnished, and 10% for furnished. Now, these are the assumptions in the price adjustments. The next section of the comps calculator will show you a space where you can put in the list of comparables, right? So mind you, if the cell is colored in yellow, that means that is where you actually type in. Every other figure that you see there's actually calculated for you. So it's really on the yellow cells in which you should put in the figures. Okay. So the first line there, you can see it's subject property. So you put in there an asking price, maybe a price in which you've already thought of before, even before doing this comparative market analysis. Then put the area. In our case, the Sun Residences condo is at 20 square meters. Bedrooms, number of bathrooms, parking, and also what kind of furnishings that you've put in there, whether it's bare, semi-furnished, or furnished. And then the next part, of course, you have comparables, a list of comparables from 1 to 5. You put on the details there of the similar listings which you've already looked at from some of the popular listing websites. Okay. Now to provide you an example, if we've already listed them down. Okay. Again, this is a search for comparable listings. Now I put them down in here. Okay, I put 4 of them. So with various asking prices, various area, bedrooms, number of bathrooms, parking, furnishings are all put in there. Now I would like you to take note on the last column with the yellow cells, which is called weight. Basically, weight means the kind of influence that you put for a particular comparable. Because not all comparables have actually equal influence on the price of your property. some comparables will have stronger influence in terms of how to price your property. The rule of thumb is basically if the comparable is more similar to the property that you're selling, you assign it a higher weight. You assign it a higher weight. So in this case, as you would see here in comparable 3 has an asking price of 2.5 million, an area of 20 square meters, bedroom is 1, bathroom is 1, and its furnishings is furnished. So as you would see, it's almost exactly the same as the subject property, as the property that you're selling. So therefore, we assign a higher weight to it of 40%. The rest, we assign different weights according to how we think they're similar or dissimilar to the subject property. 30%, 15%, 15%. But all in all, they should all sum up to 100%. Okay? Now, once you filled all of that, the calculator will give you at the very bottom of this portion here a recommended asking price of 2.45 million pesos. Following that, the next segment would show the financials. Now, the price here, let's say you've followed the recommended price of 2.45 million pesos, and that's what you type into the yellow box. The calculator will also give you a breakdown of the expenses already based from the percentages we've discussed earlier in terms of the capital gains tax and brokers' professional fees. Now, what I've added here for you is an item for contingencies and allowances. Basically, you could allocate 1% for these contingencies and allowances because sometimes there are things that you do not foresee. It's good to allocate an expense account there. Okay. Now, after that, of course, after you've you've removed the capital gains tax, the workers' professional fees, and the contingencies and allowances, you would get the sale proceeds. Now, of course, there's another box there, which is other obligations, because it's really up to your circumstance. If you still have payments to the bank in terms of a property loan, then you could put that amount over there for the other obligations. Removing the other obligations, you get the final sales proceeds, which in this case is around 1.56 million pesos. The top reasons of why it's good for you to team up with us in terms of selling a property. One is that we will have our team behind you. Second is that we will protect you with sell-side representation so that we can negotiate for you and that we can protect you. Next, we cover all marketing expenses and paperwork. Also, we take advantage of an expanded market, particularly a Mandarin-speaking market. In addition to that, we also take advantage of standout property technology, such as drone technology and virtual tours. And lastly, professional fees are only paid after the buyer's payment, so that you don't actually have any out-of-pocket expenses. So with that, we would like to invite you to enlist your property with us. The address is down there, bit.ly/sellpropertywebinar. So it is just a short feedback form, but there's also a way so that you can put in some details with property, and that could be an initial part of the process in which we could already have with you a free online consultation. Okay, so entrust your properties with us so they can stand out and sell faster. Call 0917-254-7189 now. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. For this segment, we're going to discuss about how to prepare your property for a quick sale. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm architect Jade Angbangyok. I graduated BS Architecture from the University of Santo Tomas. I also took up BS Interior Design in the Philippine School of Interior Design. I am a licensed architect and an interior designer. I worked under architect Calino Palafox Jr. of Palafox Associates. I also worked under Designing Women in Sydney, Australia. And I was a photographer at 8 Flashes Incorporated weddings and events. So for our first pointer, first we have to improve lighting. Lighting adjusts the ambience and creates the proper mood. It brightens up rooms so that they appear more spacious compared to the dim and dark ones. You should open up the blinds and curtains and let natural light stream in. And we should always be sure that there's enough light throughout the house before we start showcasing it. Floor lamps, table lamps, candles, windows, and mirrors can help improve lighting. So here are some examples. This is the before picture before this unit was renovated. And then we improved the lighting. So this is the after picture. We can see that there was a big difference from the before and after picture. The second pointer is embrace neutrals. Many of my clients usually say, I want a home or a unit that feels like a hotel. So what does a hotel ambience have? They use neutral colors and warm white lighting. Neutral colors bring a relaxed feel. Neutral colors allow the property to be versatile for the next user. Neutral colors also make it ready for any style of interior design depending on the next user. Here is an example of the before the unit was renovated. As you can see, the unit was very colorful, and then after we changed the color of the walls and then put on some warm white lighting. So you can see a very big improvement. The third pointer is create focal points. Focal points can be accent walls, interesting accessories, or decors like paintings that can make a space stand out. It may be souvenirs from a trip that can be interesting talk pieces. Focal points can create interest. Focal points can make your property stand out from the others. So here is a before picture of a living room. And then when we decided to make a focal point, this is the after picture. We placed an interesting painting and we also improved the lighting. So as you can see, again, this unit stands out from the before picture. So the next pointer is focus on flow. Flow is how a user moves around the space. The movement of the user should remain uninterrupted and interesting. So the before photo, we can see a wall that blocks the kitchen. So the after photo, after the renovation, we can see that we remove the wall and then now the space looks airy, spacious, and uninterrupted. So we can see a big improvement compared to the before photo. Now, this space stands out from the previous one. And then lastly, the unit should be ready to be moved in. So it makes It convenient to the client by providing ready-to-use furniture, fixtures, and appliances. We have this project who is exactly the same layout and floor area to the unit opposite it, except that this picture is the unit A, so it's bare. Compared to this picture, unit B, which is our project, we put on some furniture and appliances and a few decorations, and we painted the wall. So let's say that this unit is cheaper than this unit for about 200,000, but the buyer bought this unit because after the sale, the buyer immediately moved in and enjoyed this unit. So the moral lesson is we should provide the buyer with ready to move in facilities. So again, this unit stands out from this one. Why hire us? We are not just architects and interior designers. We are also property owners, and we rent out our real estate properties. So we know how you feel. We have been renovating homes and condominium units for 15 years already, so we are experts in this field. And lastly, we will help you avoid design errors, renovation headaches, and nightmares, since we have been in this field for 15 years and we are experts already in renovating homes and condo units. Entrust our properties with us to stand out and sell faster. Call 0917 254 7189.